A difficult challenge that had a successful outcome for me was an exhibition that I did with Chris Norwood over in Overtown, talking about uh, the black card and culture. It's called Black Card, Cultural Transactions in Cultural Currency. And what was difficult about it was it was it was talking about something that I had to deal with growing up in terms of being someone having the ability, you giving someone the power to take away your level of culture, your level of who you are. So there's this thing inside the Black community, and what I found out in other Black communities was a black card. It's not taught in schools, but it's understood. And it's basically like if you don't know something that should be appropriated toward your culture, then somebody has the right to be like, give me your black card. So if you don't know a certain movie, if you don't know a certain song, if you don't do a certain thing, it's this taking away of your identity. However, it's not really, but it's a running joke, but everybody in the culture understands it. Um, and so what was difficult about it was is I had to recant and go back and ask questions for myself what it was like to be a black kid growing up in an environment where most of the people didn't look like me. And it's not to say I didn't have amazing friends or anything like that or experience all of this bunch of racism directly, but you do feel ostracized when somebody doesn't look like you, and you do feel ostracized when the you know people can't relate to you when I had an afro back in high school, like hair texture, like there's certain things around you within inside your own home. So for me, I had my black card taken a lot, like, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that. And so it was very difficult for me to go back and understand like, hey, that was a lot of I had to grieve a lot, I had to understand what I allowed, even though, like I said, I was in survival mode growing up. So I didn't I didn't understand. I gave away my level of authenticity for attachment. So be my friend. You know, I can't take rejection. So I will give up who Brandon is for that. So I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And so I had to go back and I had to ask these hard questions to myself, and I had to be very patient with the answers that didn't just come about. I had to find these answers, and I had to be really patient with myself. So it took digging, it took asking questions, it took a whole bunch of things. So the successful part is I was able to physically capture. It was very healing for me. I was able to physically capture my experiences and the things that I felt that I never had a chance to say as a kid, never had a chance to say as an African American in the professional world. And it gave me a voice. It gave me a sense of power that I never exercised, and I didn't really give myself enough grace to say that it was okay, man. You did what you could and you made it to where you are, and you didn't have to have all that grit and grind and bravado and fight in you to be where you are today. However, you can learn to do it now in the way that you want to tell your story. Um, and the cool thing was very successful. I found out a lot of people had the same experiences that I did, and it wasn't necessarily like I was saying. My story was more of death by a thousand paper cuts. I came from a upper middle class black family, who, it's not necessarily I had to live, where the stories feel so traumatic. It's what are your stories that people would perceive, oh, you have it all. Oh, you had this. No, there's still things that happen behind the scenes. So that was one of the most difficult things and most successful things that I had to go through on a personal level. But the success was so great for me because those conversations continued afterward, and I made some really good friends out of that exhibition.